proposed trip is quite a mammoth undertaking from May to July 2025, comprising more than 17,000 kilometres and almost all of that in outback Australia. We visited both Cape York and the Gulf of Carpentaria on a few occasions. Examples are the Bruce Brothers Tour of Queensland in 2013, the Burke and Wills motorcycle tour with Machine in 2015, Burke and Wills Caravan Tour in 2017, the North Queensland Trail Bike Adventures tour to Cape York in 2020, the Elwood Cairns to Darwin motorcycle adventure with Elwood in 2022, and the four-wheel drive off-road tradies tour to Cape York in 2024. So on this trip we'll skip Cape York and the Gulf in favour of getting to new territory. On our way west we're proposing to visit Carnarvon Gorge, Litchfield National Park, Kakadu National Park, Catherine Gorge, Lake Argyle, several locations in the Kimberley via the Gibb, Cape Leveque, Broome and Steep Point, the westernmost point of Australia, as well as a number of other notable locations. On our way back east, we're hoping to travel the Gun Barrel Highway, visit 4 state corner markers, Surveyor Generals, Popal, Haddon and Cameron, revisit Ayers Rock and the Olgas, camp at the Lampert Centre and cross the Simpson Desert once again, as well as to call in at Cape Byron, the easternmost point of mainland Australia. The Queensland bottle tree is quite often confused with WA's boab tree, but they are quite separate. Carol and I have previously trekked in Carnarvon Gorge, but it was such a fabulous experience we couldn't wait to repeat it. From Carnarvon Gorge, we made a 5-day dash to Litchfield National Park where we're meeting Erin and her family, but there are some great sights along the way. John Flynn's Royal Flying Doctor Service became a reality in Cloncurry in 1928. Barclay Homestead is such a wonderful oasis. What a great location. Drawing its name from a series of natural springs, Daly Waters is a quirky but iconic location. And then to Litchfield, where it was so great to have Erin and Isaac and the boys Harvey and Harry join us for a few days of fabulous fun. Grenade Creek is one of the lesser known destinations in the park, but one of the most beautiful waterfalls. Matt Wright is National Geographic's Outback Wrangler and the star of the Netflix show Wild Crop Territory. While he's had a few legal challenges following a helicopter incident, Matt has developed some of the most sought-after outback tours in the Darwin area, including the famous Top End Safari Camp. At the Top End Safari Camp, as well as the many adventures during the day, we enjoyed a great overnight camping experience. Claiming to be Darwin's premier wildlife park, Crocodilus Park features thousands of crocodiles from cute little hatchlings to snappy big crocs. Erin, Isaac, Harrison and Harvey will all fly back to Brisbane tomorrow, so this will be our final dinner together for some months. Aquascene was established in 1981 and has become quite a magical attraction for all of the family. Visitors can choose to feed the fish from the concrete stairs or wade into the water. The Darwin Waterfront Precinct, comprising restaurants, bars, a wave pool and a man-made beach, is located just 5 minutes walk from the Darwin CBD. Corroboree Billabong is part of the Mary River wetlands and home to the largest concentration of saltwater crocodiles in the world. Exploring these wetlands on a charter boat, we were able to get a close look at saltwater crocodiles and also to see a host of other exotic bird life. Over 100 million years ago, much of Kakadu was under a shallow sea. Today, the escarpment, which rises 330 metres above the plains, extends over 500 kilometres along the eastern side of the park. Sadly, the late finishing wet season scuttled our plans to visit two key waterfalls in the park, i.e. Jim Jim and Twin Falls, due to submerged access roads. But nevertheless, we did undertake some great bushwalks, visited some spectacular lookouts, and we also visited Carl's Crossing. Catherine Farmstays, a small family-run business located on the Catherine River. It's run by Michael and Beck, who started here in 2021, just 10 kilometres out of the town of Catherine. They offer camping facilities and cater for caravans. The park offers a playground, pool, amenities block, laundry facilities, and they have animal feeding daily at 3:30 p.m. Catherine Gorge is made up of 13 gorges with rapids and waterfalls and follows the Catherine River, which begins in Kakadu. During the dry, roughly April to October, the gorge waters are placid in most spots and ideal for swimming and canoeing. There are freshwater crocs in most parts of the river, and we saw them where they nest along the banks, but they're generally harmless to humans unless they're threatened. Lake Argyle is Western Australia's largest freshwater man-made reservoir. It's part of the Ord River irrigation scheme and is located near Kununurra in WA. We were really pleasantly surprised at just how entertaining Lucas made this sunset cruise on Lake Argyle. Good stuff. The archerfish are pretty remarkable, known for their unique predation technique of shooting down land-based insects and other small prey by shooting jets of water from their specialised mouths. The Ord River Dam was completed in 1971. The dam wall is just 335 metres long, but creates Lake Argyle, which has a surface area of over 1,000 square kilometres. The Bungle Bungle Range has elevations as high as 578 metres above sea level. It's famous for the sandstone domes, unusual and visually striking, with their striping and alternating orange and grey bands. This route took us into Cathedral Gorge, which is a huge natural amphitheatre. Hiking to the domes, which is an uneven loop, gave us an up-close experience amongst the beehive domes where we could clearly see the different layers of the sediment and the protective banding of the iron oxide. The doors-off helicopter flight was sadly not Carol's cup of tea. She sat in the back and hung on with white knuckles while I really enjoyed the 40-minute flight. Mini Palms Gorge, which is a 4.5 kilometre hike from the Bloodwood car park, has steep slopes, narrow edges and large boulders to climb over, or squeeze between. It's a Category 5 rated hike, but really well worth it. The Gibb River Road is a former cattle route that stretches in an east-west direction almost 660 kilometres through the Kimberley region. The Emma Gorge walk through the Coburn Range is rated as one of the best in the Kimberley. El Questro Station remains a working cattle station with a significant herd of cattle, but has been developed into a very successful wilderness park tourist destination. There are now 3 resorts on El Questro: Emma Gorge, which offers safari cabins, the station itself, which offers bungalows and camping, and the Homestead, which offers luxury rooms and suites. Zebedee Springs is a thermal spring fed via a fault line from a permanent supply of water deep within the earth. The water temperature remains between 28 and 32 degrees Celsius all year round. No trip along the Gibb River Road is complete without crossing the iconic Pentecost River. Saltwater crocodiles inhabit the river, so swimming or even wading across is strongly discouraged. Home Valley Station is a pastoral lease and cattle station covering 3.5 million acres. We camped on the banks of Pentecost River with spectacular views of the Coburn Range. Bindoola Falls is located just west of Home Valley Homestead and just off the Gibb River Road. It's a hidden gem tucked away in that national park without any identifying signage from the Gibb River Road. The Durack River is one of the Kimberley's major rivers, and it's another captivating destination to explore along the Gibb River Road. Ellenbray Station covers 1 million acres. We camped here for 2 nights and enjoyed a swim in the waterhole as well as some pretty fantastic scones. Mount Barnett Roadhouse offers a range of services including fuel, groceries, etc. and it also serves as the gateway to the stunning Manning Gorge, making it an ideal base. Hikers to Manning Gorge must first swim across Manning Creek, using a half barrel to ferry their gear the 100 metres across. Visiting Manning Gorge involves an adventurous walk of approximately 3 kilometres each way to the top of the gorge. You have to follow informal trail markers made up of rock cans, red discs and white arrows. The trail earns its Grade 4 status, particularly as you approach the falls. Galvin's Gorge is probably the most accessible gorge along the Gibb. It's a popular and pretty swimming spot with a small seasonal waterfall flowing into a horseshoe-shaped pool. Derby is a town of about 3,500 people, with the highest tides in Australia, the differential between low and high tide reaching 11.8 metres. Birdwood Downs Station is located on the Gibb River Road, just 20 kilometres out of Derby in the West Kimberley. The station has a bush-style campground for campers and caravans. Horizontal Falls is an unusual natural phenomenon located within Talbot Bay. The falls form when seawater rushes through two short and narrow gorges, which are about 300 metres apart. The seaward gap is about 20 metres wide and the landward one is about 10 metres wide. Horizontal falls have been described by naturalist David Attenborough as one of the greatest wonders of the natural world.
Yeah.
Mother of pearl fishing began in the 1870s in and around Broome. By 1910, the Australian pearl shell industry was supplying over 80% of the entire world's mother of pearl. Japanese pearler Mikimoto had introduced cultured round pearls to the global market in 1916. In 1960, the first Australian-owned and run cultured pearl farm was established at Cygnet Bay Pearls. At that time, Lyndon Brown became the first non-Japanese to successfully culture pearls commercially, growing pink tartar maxima pearl oysters. We understand that Beagle Bay's church was built by interned local Germans during World War I. However, there was a sign out the front claiming that it was built by local Aboriginal people. Nevertheless, the church is famous for its interior, decorated with mother of pearl shell. Situated on a north-south peninsula, Broome has water on both sides. Broome's Chinatown was apparently called Japtown prior to World War II. Cable Beach is named after the undersea telegraph cable which reaches the shore there. Broome was attacked by the Japanese 4 times during World War II. Many were killed and aircraft were destroyed in the bay. 10-metre tidal movements expose mudflats on Broome's town beach. With each full moon between March and October, the reflection on these mudflats creates the stunning stairway to the moon. Our plan for the homeward bound trip is to travel from the westernmost point of the mainland to the easternmost point. Steep Point in WA is the westernmost point of mainland Australia, and access to Steep Point is by 4-wheel drive vehicles only. Tracks to the point meander through sand dunes and for the last 50 kilometres some pretty rugged corrugations. Overlander Roadhouse on the Northwest Coastal Highway is 200 kilometres east of the point, making it a 400 kilometre return journey which took us 10 hours to complete. Gold was discovered in Kew in 1892 and the town was named after Tom Kew who registered the claim. Around 1900, Kew was the centre of the Murchison goldfields with a population of 10,000. Current population is around 120. The nearby town of Mount Magnet is actually the longest surviving gold mining settlement in WA. Carnegie Station is almost 1 million acres in area and operates entirely as a beef cattle station. Carnegie also provides a much needed rest stop for travellers who intend to brave the famous Gun Barrel Highway. On 15 November 1958, the Gun Barrel Road construction party finished making the Gun Barrel Highway, reaching Carnegie Station. The Gun Barrel from Victory Downs to Carnegie is 1,300 kilometres. We plan to drive the 500 kilometre section from Carnegie to Warburton. The gun barrel was built as part of Australia's role in the weapons research establishment named Woomera, which included Emu Field and Maralinga, both atomic bomb testing sites. Its purpose? To provide access for a future meteorological station, deployment of instrumentation along the centre line of fire for rockets launched from Woomera, and to allow continued work by surveyors and the completion of the first east-west road link across the centre of Australia.
But we were on our way. The origins of all this started 44 years ago when I was casually asked if I would go and start a rocket range. They said, will you go and start a rocket range? And I said, yes, I couldn't think of anything better. I'd always wanted to start a rocket range, ever since I was 4. And I said, what do you need? And they said, we need a big area. And I said, oh, I know where there's a million square miles of nothing, so that'll be good. And I said, when do you want this rocket range? And they said, straight away, right now. I said, oh, good, I won't even have to wait. And then I said, where do you want it? And they said, we don't know that. I said, oh, well, I'll find somewhere, I'm sure.
Surveyor General's Corner is the point where the state boundaries for South Australia, Western Australia and the Northern Territory all meet. The agreement setting the borders was signed in 1922, but in 1963, when the survey on the ground was continued, it was realised that there was no possibility of these lines actually meeting at the 26th parallel. So in June 1968, 2 monuments were erected, approximately 127 metres apart. The Western Monument only shows WA and Northern Territory. The most easterly monument includes all 3 jurisdictions and was named Surveyor General's Corner. The 36 domes that make up Carter cover an area of about 22 square kilometres. The highest dome, Mount Olga, rises 546 metres above the surrounding plain, which makes it 198 metres higher than Uluru. There are 2 walks that enter the domes of Carter, and we again walked both. Valley of the Winds at 7.4 kilometres is a grade 4 walk, and there's the scenic Walper Gorge walk at 2.6 kilometres. Uluru, or Ayers Rock, is a world-renowned large sandstone monolith which stands 348 metres high, and with most of its bulk lying underground. We enjoyed repeating the 10.6 kilometre base walk starting from Marla Car Park. Kings Canyon is one of the most spectacular canyons in Central Australia. The canyon walls are over 100 metres tall, with Kings Creek at the bottom. The rim walk is quite a demanding 6 kilometre trail. The walk starts with a steep ascent of approximately 500 steps to the rim of the canyon. But the effort is well worth it. The views from the top are unmatched. Goss's Bluff, named in 1872 after Australian explorer Henry Goss, is a crater 5 kilometres in diameter and which has walls 180 metres high, believed to have been formed by the impact of an asteroid or comet over 100 million years ago. Albert Namatjira, 1902 to 1959, was an Arunta painter born and raised in the Hermannsburg Lutheran Mission. He was widely considered one of the most notable Australian artists. Finke Gorge National Park covers an area of approximately 460 square kilometres and includes the desert oasis Palm Valley, which shelters groves of rare red cabbage palms and other unique plant species. The Central Australian cabbage palm is found only in Palm Valley and it's prolific here. There are around 3,000 full-grown palms and thousands of small seedlings sprinkled across the park. In 1988, the Royal Geographical Society determined the Geographical Centre of Australia as a bicentennial project. It was calculated from more than 24,000 different points at the high water mark of Australia's coastline. Mount Dare Hotel is ideally situated in South Australia on the western edge of the Simpson Desert, just 10 kilometres south of the Northern Territory border. Dalhousie Springs is a group of over 60 natural artesian springs located in the Simpson Desert. Water comes from part of the Great Artesian Basin. They were named by surveyor Dick Nucky around 1870 when he was there working on the overland telegraph line. Water temperatures in the springs range from 38 to 43 degrees Celsius. Perny Bore was created in 1963 when the French Petroleum Company explored the rock strata beneath the Great Artesian Basin. The water that flows out of the bore head is near boiling at 85 degrees Celsius. We came upon Paul Shea, whose wife had died of cancer in 2017. Paul was walking a 400-kilometre path across the Simpson as a fundraiser. The path we chose across the Simpson was to follow the French line, right on Colson Track, left on WAA line, left on Knowles Track, right back onto the French line, through to Popal and then QAA line to Birdsville. "800 metres into the salt lake at the end of WAA line, we broke through the salt layer. Max tracks and a bit of work with the shovel proved effective. Left a bit of a walk for Carol though. The French line, then QAA line, is the shortest and most used route across the Simpson Desert. There are many large dunes to cross and many of the climbs become degraded in the course of any given season. This was my fourth time crossing the Simpson, but the first time I've seen water in Lake Popal, requiring us to take a bypass track. Big dunes on the QAA line, but further apart than those on the French line. Our drive today would have been 108 kilometres into Birdsville. However, one potential barrier for all Simpson Desert travellers is Eyre Creek, which is a tributary of the Warburton River. When Carol and I crossed the Simpson in 2022, Eyre Creek was nothing more than a dry creek bed. On this occasion, however, Eyre Creek water levels are high, requiring us to take a 60-kilometre detour to reach the shallower bypass crossing. We travelled a 60-kilometre loop just to avoid that piece you can see right there. The final sand dune before exiting the four-wheel drive desert crossing is also the largest dune in the Simpsons Desert. Big Red is 35 to 40 metres in height. However, due to there being water in Lake Naparenica blocking access to Big Red, which is in itself a rare occurrence, we drove further along the track and exited the desert via Little Red. Pack the sand flag away, pump up the tyres and head into Birdsville. Our original plan included a number of stops after Birdsville, including revisiting the Digtree and Indominka. But floods and related road closures made that impossible, so we opted to make a beeline of 1700 plus kilometres to Cape Byron. Cape Byron Headland is the easternmost point of mainland Australia and is the primary reason for our visit here, having started our westward journey at Steep Point in Western Australia.